if Kasva can take this series, he will be your newest member to make it to Heidelberg to fight for the lion's share of a $300,000 prize pool. Comes down to this. In his way, and G in the AoE scene. In fact, most people consider this guy top 3 in their list. I think that'd be fair, right, mister? Is he in your top 3?
Yes, top 2 for
Okay.
me.
But no one clip that and send it to MarineLorD. We don't want his head getting too big. He won't be able to get through the Heidelberg doors. I think those doors are pretty big as well. It is an actual castle. Anyway, let's focus on this game because it looks like we've got a pretty tight spawn for Kasva. A little bit more open for MarineLorD. Kind of interesting, actually, because this
Did he
matchup...
notice?
Oh, huh?
Did he notice MarineLorD's opening? It's really interesting.
Wait, tell
Have
me.
you noticed the small detail?
Let's check
He
it out.
didn't make a scout from his town center.
Oh, he delayed it.
He rushed the cabin with 3 villagers, and he made it from the cabin.
I actually like that.
That's very interesting.
Because the build speed on the hunting cabin is not very long, right? It's pretty short. So you can escalate that and get up incredibly quick. And it kind of offsets the difference of extra 5 seconds from the new scout production times. That's pretty cool.
What were you saying?
What was I saying?
You were saying something.
Oh,
Sorry for
the
interrupting.
openings. I was so like both these players can be pretty aggressive. Sorry, it's fine. Feel free to nerd out. That's what I'm here for. To listen to this. But they both have aggressive saves, right? You can see either one taking the lead. Kasva feels like he's got a lot more defendable of a location though, due to the way that these rock lines have configured.
Yeah, that might be a bad thing as well.
You think?
What I notice is the boars. That's what we should pay attention. And both boars are in position where Kasva can contest, especially the left one.
Yeah, and stealth forest as well, which is really hard to play into.
And none of the boars is close to secondary food source, which is also a big deal.
Oh.
In this map, a lot of the times boars are close to berries mostly. Sometimes even close to deers if you lure the boar towards a location. Now, in this scenario, we don't have either stone or gold near the boars, which makes them less valuable.
Interesting. And we have to remember, like, if you go for a TC placement on the ball, which either of these civs could do, for example, or you just go for a little base to try and gav on the ball on the west side, that's in the middle of stealth forest. You're going to be limited on vision. You can easily get pinched by knights from either side. And I think actually the interesting thing is if that becomes the center of the fight, this is a stealth forest. You're a French player. You could very easily get gang bushed by a bunch of spears because you know you're going to be building knights.
Yeah, and in general, like having a gold mine, for example, next to a boar for a Rus player, it's really, really important because the Rus player doesn't want to build a mining camp in his base. He wants to get the most value out of a town center. So he loses the boar close to wood and the gold, makes the town center, uses the 8 initial villagers to gather the food, and then the new villagers go to gold because if you play 2 TC Rus, you need at least 4 to 5 villagers on gold to maintain night production. It makes things a lot easier and smooth.
Yeah, now it should be highlighted that you can drop a wooden fortress there. You will get the wooden influence on the town center for the extra drop off as the roost, but those forests aren't big enough to justify it. They're baby level forests, so would be a pretty rough suboptimal play for MarineLorD to have to take.
And it's also too far away. It's really risky. Like you have to walk so far away. I think what MarineLorD is going to do, he's going to place a town center between the tree line, the deer, and the berry.
Yes.
And then he will walk the back. And then he has a big gold mine, a stone mine, 2 deers, and a berry, all under it, all protected by a town center. And that's like the ideal position for a town center.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I was thinking. Like, turn this into a 2TC Castle Age type play. Force Kasva to try and end the game early because French players don't tend to like rushing Castle Age, right? They're trying to actually chip away your eco to slowly escalate up. And if you do get a good timing, say 12, 13 minutes in, you're in Castle, Kasva might not have the military mass to punish with this configuration.
Yeah, and something that we didn't mention is Kasva went instantly on gold and wood and got wheelbarrow at 47 seconds, which is a really good build.
Okay. So
And
he
his
had it.
wheelbarrow was ready before 2 minutes. Actually, it was ready at 2 minutes and 15 seconds.
Wow, and he's going very quickly into the horticulture. Some people like to delay us a little bit. Like, where do you stand on the timing for wheelbarrows? Because I've always felt that the best way to do it is, before you're halfway through the School of Cavalry build-up, wheelbarrow should be being researched.
It's it's actually pretty simple. If you're gonna take an upgrade, you want to take it as fast as you can that you can afford it, right?
Yeah.
And you always want to take upgrades if you don't want to invest those resources into something else. Now, therefore, since Kasva was planning on going for Horseman in order to prevent a forward town center on a board, it's actually pretty smart to get those gold upgrades as fast as possible to get the most value of them, since he will not be spending those resources in anything else. Like, you don't want resources to sit idle unless you want to use them for something.
And that Horseman player is a really cool pivot. It's not just that it blocks out the TC. You can also see that against a Civ that always has more vision, you're able to deny it. He can just chase the scout down. Looks like he won't be able to get the final tap, but this is the power of Horseman. You can deny vision, and if there's something that the Roos usually win in, it's early game vision.
But it's like he could have even avoided the Horseman. There is a good sign that the Rus player is not gonna go for a forward bore early in the game, and that sign is the outpost tower. If you see an outpost tower in the starting wood location of a Rus player, it means that he's not saving up wood to get a forward town center. When you want to take a forward town center, you want to have the resources exactly 1 minute after you age up, because you want to have that's the second tick for your golden gate. Now, in order to have that amount of wood at that exact moment, you must skip the the outpost in
Yeah.
your wood line. So by seeing that, obviously seeing the barrack, he should have known that his opponent is not gonna go for a forward bore, so he could have even skipped the horseman and got an even faster town center. Because horsemen against spears, there's nothing you can do. Like,
Yeah.
you can just run around with resources that do nothing, and your opponent will still make the spearman, right? So it's like your opponent is making a barrack, he's making spearman, and those resources he cannot use because he has to defend. And you can just be greedy, not spend resources, and get the town center 1 minute faster.
Speaking of greedy, MarineLorD, it looks like he's being greedy, but I actually like this play considering Kasva pushed the Horseman to begin with. It means he actually has no way of preventing this type of spread, and there is a lot of spread there. Just look at the distance between that first TC and the third. MarineLorD is definitely going wide.
It's a 3DC game. And the thing is that you cannot punish it. That's the problem. And I'm hoping for the future that they kind of fix this, because right now you don't have the time to set up production and set enough units, travel across the map, and prevent something so greedy. There's no counterplay. There are some timings, but it depends on the map. Like, in some maps, you just can't.
No, I actually like that you bring that up. It's something that I've been thinking about in the last week or so, because something that I think really draws the attention to it is if you think of the HRE, right? The HRE, the reason I highlight them is because they gather so much quicker than everyone else, so they can escalate these timings. And there's a lot of question mark on, like, HRE, they've got all this gathering. Why don't they, like, do prolonged feudals? Well, because let's say you're in an HRE mirror. One player goes for a prolonged feudal, gets you a chance to aggress, but the other one just rushes castle. That guy rushing castle is going to get a 40% quicker time with his tech up. But the guy who's playing longer feudal, because he can't change the production times, he's going to struggle to get everything online to punish greed quick enough.
Yeah, you don't have enough time to be on your opponent base to actually do damage that matters, because everybody can do damage, but if you're making units, you're sacrificing your own economy or tech or something in order to do damage. You have to do equal amount of damage at best if you want to just go like to have it equalized. But most of the times, by the time you are in his base, you can't do that amount of damage, and you're actually hurting yourself even more than you're actually hurting your opponent.
Yeah, that's why usually when you see these impactful early raids, it's off the back of things like heavy cavalry, because they're not just a one punch and done. They're just going to keep coming in. They're going to keep chipping and idling eco. That's how you get the value out of early aggression. Well, it definitely feels
Now,
like
Kasva
Casva's. Oh, good.
stays on 2DC. I don't know about that decision, that follow up. he has to do something fast, or else he's gonna run into some problem.
It has to be an all-in feudal, right? You can't try to rush castle here. You don't get any inherent value as the French out of that.
The knights are good at harassing. They're not really good at pushing in low numbers. So he's choosing to go knight. So he will have a small amount of units. It's gonna be tough. Like as I told you, like MarineLorD's position of at least his second town center is like it can't get better than that. There's 3 food sources, and he's walling the back, and behind the TC there is a gold mine and a stone mine. If he makes an outpost there as well, I don't see a way Kasva doing damage.
I guess the tough part as well is like in these situations, I quite like if French players are going to go aggressive, they do the Holy Trinity, right? They get some cavalry, they get the archers, they get the spears. But I guess there's always that looming threat in the back of your mind. The Rus are probably the worst civ to build spears against just because of how quickly they can amass archers.
I'm wondering, does Kasva know about the third town center?
I don't know. Like, he walked by it very early on. When he chased the scout back to base and then peeled off the side, he saw the stone outcropping. But maybe he thinks that that's how he got the second TC, which...
Yes. In my opinion, it's really important because I'm trying to understand why Kasva is walling everything when his opponent went 3 TC and he went 2. He doesn't know about the third town center because that would explain why he's making walls.
But
You don't want to wall so early if you are 2 TC against 3 TC.
surely the confusing part about this, though, is that the way the Rus work, like the way they have supplies, he'd buy the stone. So like it almost feels like any time we do see a Rus player going onto the stone with the like lack of aggression coming out early on, this has to be a free TC build.
Not necessarily. Some
Okay.
people want to just use one tick from their golden gate
True.
and get the TC instantly.
That's
If you so how you can do that is you have 5 villagers, and those villagers, as soon as you finish your golden gate, you go on stone. They chop 3 times.
Yeah.
Actually, sorry, 2 times because they have wheelbarrow. So 2 times they gather 150 stone, and then they go straight for the TC. And you have 1 ticket save in order to buy yourself, let's say, gold, or you can even buy wood, for example, to get the TC faster if you lack on wood because you made a barrack, right? So you
Got it.
buy wood instead of stone.
The only tough part about that is that you can see your opponent's stone outcropping, and you can see how much he's taken, right? Do you think maybe Kasva just forgot to do that?
I think just ignored it.
Yeah. Let's ignore that detail because we're moving forward with this. Kasva has teched up first. MarineLorD is about to play catch up, but off the back of that, he's also getting to the Rams. A lot of value down here as well because Kasva has sent forces north, and he just built 2 TCs condensed next to his Castle Age landmark.
There's gonna be some pressure.
Ooh.
That's gonna be...
I mean, that's 1 TC at least, right? I don't think you can defend against that many archers. Speaking of which, on the other side, raiding underneath the TC, Kaz is going to make his way in before the walls come out, and MarineLorD is distracted. Ram is going to be brought low. In fact, he might be able to torch one down. That's going to delay the timing. Might buy the time required for Kasva to get a good trade.
Kasva went Royal Institute. I doubt he has the upgrade for extra HP, does he?
What, Canted Saddles? He hasn't got
No,
Canted Saddles, no Raw Bloodlines either. He hasn't even got Chivalry yet in this game.
Not much fighting. Like, why would you spend so many resources to just get it in case you need it? You're gonna need it, but you don't need it there.
Oh god, you need a defense force is what you need right now if you're Kasva. So many villagers are dying here, and he's not getting better trades out of this. That's 1 TC down. That's more villagers dying. The Ram can go off the other TC, and we could easily see Kasva falling another 10, 15 villagers. And because the Spearmen are already countering out, it feels like Kasva's going to get limited remaining value out of these Knights. I mean, I appreciate him going aggressive in this situation, but it does feel like it was the wrong read. I don't know if Kasva expected the Rams to be built up behind that Stealth Forest.
He saw so many spears and knights in front of his base. Basically, it was almost in front of his base while he was walling. He should be aware. And that's why I told you, if you remember, I said I am expecting to see knights and then spears, knights, more knights and spears and more spears and then archers.
Yeah.
Kasva didn't make spears.
No.
I think that was one of his main mistakes.
He tried to go into the Arbaletier despite the fact there's mass spears still here, and in small quantities just get swarmed. You can see, even though he does keep the second TC alive, MarineLorD just shrugs off the damage he took. It's free TC versus 2. Also, MarineLorD now up in Castle Age means he has access to grab and relics. That's someone that Kasva could potentially afford if it wasn't for his wood supply being at 0 income per minute. Okay, he got it.
Actually,
That's
he has a
bad.
monastery.
But he's
Yeah,
not...
but
Wait.
that makes it even worse. That makes it worse because
Yeah.
he has a monastery. Where is his where is his monk?
That's what I was about to say. Like, I was confused. There was none being produced. He had 1,000 gold. That's why I was like, he must not have a monastery yet. Oh, no.
Okay. So
What?
eco-wise,
What? There's so many details about this game. Walling's hard, okay.
a lot of villagers were died from MarineLorD as well. Like, he lost a lot of villagers.
Yes. Although, in a different way, Kaz's villagers are dead. They're brain dead. They're done with the berries. They're not working anymore. That's... I think he's finally reacted to it. I hope. Okay, there we go. Reason that's important right now is Kasva, he's very all in on what he's doing here with the knights. You can see the raw bloodlines, the canted saddles. Uncommon to see this choice when you have less than 10 knights.
Well, it does give a lot of damage though.
It
I
does.
give them that like +10 and then +3 from the extra friends bonus. That's a lot of damage. +13 damage.
Yeah, but I'm talking like the raw bloodline side of things. We don't usually see that until 10 plus nights, right? Is this simply because Kasva had no food? So he had gold and might as well be using it?
Yeah, I think so too. I think so. In general, upgrades is good to get them early, but as I said, like in some scenarios, it's better to have units. Like if he had those resources into units, he would be able to defend his third town center instead of losing it, and he would still do so much damage inside of his opponent's base.
So, speaking of upgrades, how do you feel about French builds that don't involve a blacksmith by 18 minutes?
Yeah, I think you have to make a blacksmith. Like especially you have 1500 wood. Like remember earlier that you said 0 wood per minute?
Yeah, you
It's 1000
overcalibrated.
wood per minute.
For good reason as well, because he needs to switch farms soon.
The problem is the relics. He's not getting the relics, which I think is a huge mistake. I think he got distracted. Let's say distracted from that push.
Like it. Yeah, it feels like he thought he was getting a good trade, then he didn't, then it kind of recovered. And then there's maybe gaps that have happened there, right? His mind is elsewhere, so he forgot about the monastery. Then he needs to set up the farms because he had 0 wood income, which never feels good. And, well, even now, just still the lack of a blacksmith. So those that have not played the French before, why not? It's easy wins. But more importantly, if you drop a blacksmith, you get the melee tech upgrades for free. Very important, especially when you find yourself up in Castle Age. You're missing out an extra 2 melee damage, and you only have to pay 150 wood to get that.
What worries me the most is the relics. Now, MarineLorD just got the 4th relic.
Yeah, it's becoming a little bit cruise mode for him now, because this is where things can really begin to escalate. You have to remember that Kasva only just went back up to 3 TCs. At this rate, MarineLorD's going to reach pop cap requirement. It won't matter how many TCs your opponent has or how quick they produce. What's going to matter is those relics you mentioned.
And MarineLorD is choosing to play the Horseman Spearman approach. And I think that's kind of correct, because he's expecting Knights and Crossbowman from Kasva. That's a really big farm transition from Kasva.
Yeah.
It's a lot of farms.
He's trying to make savings elsewhere. You saw him hard on the stone, so looking to get a defensive keep down. And I mean, this is one of those tough ones I think about the Royal Institute. We used to not see it. Now I feel like we almost exclusively see it. One of the negatives that maybe doesn't get talked about is that it makes it very predictable what you're going to build next.
I think Kasva forgot that he made a monastery. That's why he didn't get the relics.
At this point, what's the point? There's 4 already banked from MarineLorD. He'll finally pick one up. In fact, I don't... I think that old man is going to heaven.
No, a knight sacrifices himself.
No,
Oh no,
no,
he's
no,
blind.
the old man, he's forgetful. Where am I? What am I doing? Who am I?
Oh, someone else is going to heaven.
They went together, you know. Some sort of
They
weird
will go
sacrificial
together.
cult.
That's a lot of units. It's 10 units against 50. That's
Oh god, and it's about to be a lot less eco for Kasva. There's not enough room in this inn. It's already been fully garrisoned, and there's so many units here. This is going to shut him
Kasva.
down. No,
Yeah, that's not gonna go up.
that's not going up. The moment he saw the scaffold, he's like, okay, let's deal with that threat. Time for you to lose 15 more villagers. Maybe he gets to keep up, but the damage done here is going to be undeniable.
Kasva took a bet. He didn't realize how much damage he did with his own knights. So for the past like 5 minutes, he stopped making any units. He's been just getting upgrades and making farms. So he's setting up a game so he can recover. But he didn't realize that he actually did a lot of damage to MarineLorD in the meantime. If he got his 2 relics and stabilized, the game wouldn't look like this.
Do you think it was a combo of what you just mentioned and also being distracted? And we'll get in that in a second because it looks like it's time for the post game, considering that is going to be GG. Kasva finally gets a whiff, a feel for what's going on here. MarineLorD will open up with a win. Kasva is going to need to turn it around if he wants to qualify for Wololo this weekend. Whew. So, back to that point, because I think you made a very interesting point around that he took the bet, didn't realize like how far ahead he was or what he got out of that. Do you think it was also a panic of his mismanagement of resources? Because we highlighted the
Yeah,
woods, and he was running out of food.
he didn't expect that push. From what I understood, from the way he reacted, it was a surprising push. Because he went to raid. Now, you don't leave your base to raid when you have no units and your opponent is in front of you, right? So that was unexpected. And he's going towards his opponent's base. Then the Rams camp. He's surprised. He's taking damage and he panics.